Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you to the mayor. Thank you, Senator Hochschild, Representative Scraba, Liz Lagarde, Mayor of International Falls, City Council members, and the citizens here. As we were saying, we have a disaster like this happen. We know the front line of that is family and neighbor helping neighbor. I want to thank everyone for keeping your neighbors safe, for being there to help them haul things out of their businesses if they've needed. It's just critically important. But then I want to say the process of how we as a state and how we as a nation respond to these things is really important. To our first responders, really appreciate it. I think you saw an example here of when we equip, train, and give the ability of our folks to do what they need to do with these vehicles. It helps us in a time, and like we don't ever want to have to use them, but when we need to, we're glad they're there. So I appreciate that again. And then I think when you have something like this, I'm going to thank the emergency management team. And Minnesota is unfortunately good at this, especially around flooding, because we usually have it. This is unusual in that we usually get it from the snow. And like the mayor said, I think many of us thought we dodged a bullet without the flooding this spring, but we lost all the activity that goes with, as the mayor said, the economic activity with the snow. And now to have this happen right before the 4th of July really does impact communities. First and foremost, keeping people safe, now starting to think about rebuilding. The way this process works is the declaration will be declared. I know that people are cleaning out their individual houses. I can't stress this enough. Whether it's public sector things or whether it's your individual things, keep receipts for everything. Because the way this process works is we'll do a damage assessment over the coming days and weeks. Those will get funneled up. If we hit a threshold number that it looks like we will in some of these areas, but we won't know until all those receipts are in, we can apply for a federal or presidential declaration. Once that happens, that opens up FEMA dollars to come down. FEMA dollars will reimburse on public infrastructure up to 75%, and the state can pick up the other 25%. So a federal declaration can help hold a community more harmless, because we know there's the expenses of cleaning, there's all the expenses, there's the lost business that added on. And this is one of those things. But by the grace of God, each of our communities gets one of these. We're in it together. If we don't reach that threshold, I'm going to thank the legislators that are standing here on doing something that I don't think many states do. And when I talk to other governors, they wish they had this ability. We have a disaster assistance contingency account. It has $26 million in it now. The legislators standing here made sure that in September, with our state budget being balanced, that it kicks in $50 million that will go in back automatically to replenish that account. We use it about a dozen times. Things from roofs falling in on dairy farms to repairing runways from flooding or cracking. That money is available, and that is regardless of a federal declaration. The same process of receiving the receipts, the damage assessments, comes to the state, and we can issue that. The bottom line on this is that we're committed together, and I will tell you, your federal delegation has been on this. I spoke to both senators this morning. You've got this delegation that's here, and we've got commissioners here from the IRRV is here. We have the Commissioner of Public Safety here, as you heard earlier. We have transportation here. Rebuilding the public infrastructure, making sure that the funding's there, making sure that it's not impacting disproportionately the people of this area, and then start thinking about how do we help people. And I just want to say, for those that are listening now, all this is grand, but you've got sewage in your basement. You had things that are ruined. You're trying to figure out where you have to live. That part is more complicated, but it is absolutely a priority. And I think you have the Red Cross volunteers here. I want to say a big thank you to them. One of our biggest concerns right now is we didn't get anybody hurt or injured in the actual incident. Now we need to be really careful. We're working around a lot of heavy equipment. We're working around a lot of water and things. There's going to be a lot of electronics. And we also have to worry about the health issues that come on with it. Physical health with dirty water. We got to start thinking about disinfecting, getting that carpet out. But I just want to tell everybody here, this initial part hits, and then this is going to be weeks of recovery and things that you have to do. The mental aspect of this is keep an eye on each other. Think about this. This is very emotional. Folks have lost all of the things they own. They have lost precious keepsakes from their children when they were in kindergarten. Those things are all real, and we've seen this in these before. We need to keep an eye on folks. But I can't tell you how grateful I am for the response that's been here. The team that's here is working on it, is doing it. And again, these emergency managers, they really know what they're going to do. But if there's any takeaway from this is keep all your receipts. Every hour you're putting in, all of the fuel you're using, all of those types of things, and then to know that sense of urgency you're feeling. Look, if your theater is closed or your pharmacy is closed, we've got folks that are going to need prescriptions refilled. They're going to need to know where they go to do that. We've got a lumber company that's got inventory, a lot of inventory on site that's maybe not going to be usable. We need to figure out how to make sure we get back into that. So there's creative ways of doing it. We do it the same way you did it in the first 24 hours. We do it with community. The community just got a little bigger. It's the state of Minnesota in this. We may get the federal government to help, but just grateful you're all here. I don't know if we have any legislators who'd like to say anything. We've got emergency managers here. If I missed or misspoke, correct me on what needs to go.
Well, thank you, Governor,
Yeah.
for coming.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you get to a community like this and you talk to the folks that felt this devastation firsthand, the business owners, the families with water in their basement. They're homeless, right? We've got folks that are literally homeless right now, unable to get back into their homes. And so you feel that humanity. But the good news is that up here in northern Minnesota, we have each other's back. We go out of our way to help each other, and all the volunteers, all the emergency responders, all of that was so critical because this happened so fast. In a matter of hours, we went from folks, business owners saying, yep, we were dry, all of a sudden, complete flooding and devastation. So it was fast and it was quick, and the folks that were here right away on the ground, I applaud them, because that's what really matters. Now it's our job. Our local communities had each other's back, our neighbors had each other's back. Now the state has to have the back of Cook and the communities here in northern Minnesota. That's my job. That's our legislators' job, to make sure that we're stepping up and providing state support. And we're also going to advocate to the federal government. I was on the phone with U.S. Senator Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar. They are both committed to helping us access those federal funds if we can achieve the threshold that we need. So all hands on deck. We're here to support the community of Cook. I was glad to see it with my own eyes. I was glad to bring folks up here to see this. We're gonna step in and help. So thanks so much.
Roger, anything?
I just going to reiterate what the governor said and what Senator Hochschild said. We're going to be here for you. I mean, call us. We also have this. We're fortunate in northern Minnesota to have a fund called the IRRB. So if there's something that falls through the cracks or anything, if we can find a way to get creative, we will. I just want to make sure that the people have somewhere to stay. If there's issues, let us know. I know your community lived without a grocery store for years, and it hurt. To not have a building center is going to hurt, but we'll try to help and get everyone up to speed. And I know how these businesses mean. And I want to reiterate what the governor talked about with dirty water. Don't let the kids swim in that dirty water. There could be septic in it. And if there is septic in it, it just keeps exasperating itself. You'll be sick, they'll be sick. So be cautious, be careful. Fresh water is good, but too much is bad. So, and I'll be around. You know, I'll constantly search me out, and the senator, we're here to help. Thank you.
Well, I got to tell you, this is the first time that I've experienced this, but I just want to call out, Governor Walz and his administration, all his commissioners. When this happened and we called, they answered and they gave us the resources and the knowledge to start this process. And it's going to be a long road. And I don't think ultimately we know where it's going to end. But, I've been across this region now, and you go to Biwabik, Chisholm, Hibbing. It has been extremely devastating. So I will tell you that this is the worst that I've seen it in a community, because the water has not went down. And I think this is going to be a process. There's going to be anger. There's going to be fear. There's just going to be sadness. And I just think that we do need to stick together. I think that we need to rely on each other in this time, and then reach out, right? None of us have all the answers, but collectively coming together and asking the right questions, we're going to get there. And so once again, Governor, thank you so much for you and your administration, and Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith. They did reach out. There is federal funding, right? And so they said that they're going to have a roundtable to help us better understand and how that could be implemented and where it could be implemented. And then Commissioner Rukavina and the agency, how can that possibly, can we fill that gap, or how can we pair some of them dollars? I don't know how the insurance process is going to work here, to be honest with you. who's covered and who's not. But at the end of the day, this is the Iron Range, and we do have to stick together, and that's what we're committed to doing. And Senator Hochschild, he called me right away, and he was on top of it. And his leadership, along with Representative Scraba, will be instrumental moving forward. So thank you, guys. And I'm really sorry that this happened, and we're dealing with it. This is not good, right? But it's something that we have to work through, and we're committed to standing and working with you and to help deliver, not just words. We're not here for a show. If you look at what we passed in the legislation and you're from the Iron Range, you know that we're committed to helping you get through this, and we're going to. So thank you.
We'll be glad to take some questions. I would mention the folks here, this is an opportunity to also do an after-action reviews on things that could have been done on the front end, things that maybe weren't there. Some folks talked about, did we have enough sandbags? Can we run? Are we getting the notices out fast enough? Those are all fair things to think about. And I would just end with, as a community, to think about this. We've done it across, and I've seen this a lot in southern Minnesota. And I just had an example today, a county commissioner down in Waterville, down in LeSueur County, calling, and they're getting hammered too down there. They've had it before. The last time it flooded, it destroyed the water treatment plant. And when we rebuilt it back, we overbuilt it. We made it bigger and more resilient than people said, well, that's too big for a town this size. They're doing about 250,000 gallons a day through that plant. That's what they normally did. Today, they're doing 1.5 million gallons through there, and the plant is working fine. So if you see more of these types of events happen or you prepare for it, this is always a good time to think about resiliency. If there's a particular area and we get the engineers come in, maybe you berm this thing. We've seen what we did up in, not that big project, but up in East Grand Forks, we got together with the federal government and the state of North Dakota, and we built a diversion project. So now we're not going to sandbag every year. So I just have you think about that, and there's opportunities with these federal mitigation dollars. They give you the dollars, but they also give you enough to say, look, if you're going to fix this thing, don't have it happen again in 5 years. Try and make sure you stop it from happening again. That gives an opportunity. There is somewhat of a silver lining in this, that when you build back, we can build back a little more resiliently. I don't know if the press has any questions of this team.
Can you just talk about your thoughts on what you've seen today, both here and in the lab?
Yeah, and I would echo the words here, and this is, it's always somewhat, well, it's not just somewhat, it's really gratifying. Neighbors help neighbor, and you see this, and this is pretty devastating. I've been through enough of these floods, both as a member of Congress and as governor, that they are really, really hard, because the issue is, if we'd had a tornado and nobody got hurt and we saw destruction from a tornado, that's fully covered by insurance and you just rebuilt. The problem with flooding is, you're gonna find out, and I know this is the case, and it's not what you want to hear, your insurance isn't gonna cover some of that. That's where we need to figure out the rest of it. But I think there's a resiliency, there's a sense of helping with neighbors. There is a sense of this hasn't happened before, and it happened here. We need to think about that. Are we gonna have more of these events? We used to hear about 500-year flooding events. If they're happening more often, I don't think it's worth debating whether whatever's causing it. I think what you do is you fix it and plan for the future, and I think I hear that from folks up here. So just really grateful. But I do, watch your neighbors on this. Floods, I'm telling you, and some of you have seen this, and the emergency responders know this, is the psychological impacts of floods, because it's slow going, and the mayor of International Falls will share this with you. They had a 3-month damn flood up there, and that thing just kept going, and it grinds you down. So, and again, you've got folks that are going to sit tonight and say, do we rebuild or do we close our business? And that is a really difficult decision, and it's really hard on them and the community. So I think hearing that, the one thing is kind of vocalize those things and then work together. And again, you heard this. There's a lot of resources to do this. There's some things that we can't do alone, and we do together.
Is there disaster assistance available for private businesses and homes, or is it just for
Yeah,
public
it's
infrastructure?
the way it's set up. It's mainly for the public infrastructure piece of this. But I say that if there's FEMA requirements, there's both the public infrastructure side and then there's the personal and the private side, and you hit certain thresholds differ on each of those. One of the problems is, and I want to just be very honest with folks on this, the FEMA reimbursement, even if we qualify, doesn't make people whole. It doesn't get them all the way back, and so that's where I think about. We have to figure out how to do this. We have, and again, I think neighbors help neighbors, and if we wouldn't want this to happen to us, it's not just luck of the draw. That's too bad your house is gone. That's not really the way to do things. The thing is that if it happened to me, I would want someone to be there to help. I think we have to think about that, and I think you heard it articulated. There's a lot of different streams, but I'm going to, again, thank the legislature because they tell me I don't do that enough, so I'm going to make sure I do it. I am going to thank the legislature in all seriousness. That foresight that they put in that contingency account, that is the envy of every other state because it assures you, no matter what the federal government says on this, the state of Minnesota is at least going to come in with at least 75% of the reimbursements to get this stuff cleaned up, fixed, and back up operating. So.
Can you talk a little bit about how important it is to get here quick to see the damage, to see what needs to be done as far as federal funding or state funding, that kind of thing?
And again, there will be a team that'll come out. You've got folks on the ground. They know how to do this. The biggest thing, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I've been through this enough to know, because if you don't document it, and you say, yeah, but we removed all this asphalt and these trees and we had to go do it at the landfill and it cost this much money, if we don't document that, they won't reimburse us for it. And so what's most important is safety first, get folks into a healthy spot where we got folks stabilized, and then start assessing the damage in a real way. Because look, it's the overtime, it's the cost for these folks to do their work. So keep track of that. I'm gonna use this as an opportunity though to publicly thank these folks. We had a tragic situation up at Curtin Falls in the Boundary Waters, and once again, it was these folks that were up there that both in getting folks out of there and then bringing finality to families. And these are also the same groups of folks, as some of you know, 8 years ago they got my nephew out of there who was critically injured, and I am eternally grateful for that. So a thank you.
What is the timeline for those state and federal funds?
Yeah, well, this one, I should throw somebody else in front of on this. I want to be really careful on this, that, you know, and it's not a cynicism on this, but the process is a process. It is going to move too slowly for you. I will just tell you that. It is going to move too slowly. I was asking the commissioner about a road washout in Bowabic. What's going to take? She knows at the federal government that there's an environmental piece of this. What I can tell you this is the sense of urgency to get it done is there, but this is going to be a weeks-long process, potentially months on some of the infrastructure, but we hear the sense of urgency. There was an issue came up today about a permit to move a line that needed to be moved, a gas line. That process usually takes several weeks, they said, to get that done. We will try and expedite that and get it done today if at all possible, so they can do that. So I don't want to give you a direct timeline, but I will tell you it is a process. It is going to take some. Those are in there for a reason, but it is not a reason to drag feet because people are waiting every single day. Business owners can't wait months to know if there's going to be help coming in so they can rebuild. So.
Is it harder to get funding to smaller communities like Cook when the dollars don't add up as fast as like maybe a bigger
might have an
community?
emergency managers or someone. They don't. If you want to talk about the community, it's a great question. The good news is it's more cumulative. So.
Yeah, as the governor just mentioned, this is a cumulative process, and you know, one of the things too is every county has their own individual threshold, so it really depends on the damage that was experienced by each individual county. That's why, you know, getting the emergency managers out there, and what I'll also add on is our emergency managers, whether if it was a local, a county, or even our state officials, were out the minute that this happened. So that process really started right away. But as the flood waters recede, that gives us a much better picture and an outline of really what the damage was. So it's really going to be documenting everything. We have teams on the ground, especially at our county with our county partners, to really start documenting that process. So it's really hard to articulate right now what that damage is going to look like. Just based on, you know, what we're seeing, you know, we know that there's a lot of damage. We want to move as quickly and as expeditiously as possible so that we can paint that picture, so we know if we're dealing with a state disaster or if we meet that threshold at a federal level.
Can you just say spell your name?
I'm gonna make the. Oh yeah, you got it.
Oh yeah.
Just for the record.
Yeah, John, John Cunningham, Cunningham,
And then title.
Assistant Commissioner at Public Safety.
And I'm going to make the case for all of you thinking about this. This is that coming together piece. Look, the taxpayers of Cook helped fund money to rebuild New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. That's the way this works. So just to be clear, if people are saying, you know, how are we going to do this? Yeah, this is why we're there. This is why those accounts are there. This is why we work together on it, because you can't do it alone. It's just too destructive. So again, I'm going to echo what these legislators said. It'll matter in the results on this. You've got good people on the ground up here. It's locally led, supported by the state and the federal government. But all of you should have numbers to be able to reach. I know that the mayor and the city council members, the business owners, and it is okay to be impatient. And as Representative Listagard said, it's okay to get angry on some of this if it's not working the way it wants to go, because this rebuilding needs to happen. And so anything we can do, we'll do. And I just, again, thank you all for the work you're doing together.